Let's move on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Cleveland Browns 3-6, 1-3 on the road at the Buffalo Bills, 6-3, 3-1 at home. We're at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. It's cold and it's windy. 29 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy. 17 miles per hour is the wind, expected to be 17 miles per hour. Let's go over to the line history here in Browns Bills. We have the spread opening up with the Bills -8.5, -106. There's been a 5-cent move towards the Browns, 5 or 6 cent move, and it was bigger. This moved to 10 for a while, for about 11 hours this morning, and then came back to 8.5. So it moved to 10, came back to 8.5. That 8.5 was juiced up to -120. So that's interesting. Then this total opened up at 47.5 and has dropped all the way to 43.5. Wow. Let's take a look at the cash flow here in this one. We have 7,780 tickets in, 55% of the tickets, 54% of the cash on the Browns. No real help there. 79% tickets, 84% cash on the under, and it's dropped all the way down to 43.5. No snow for the game at this point, Papa Kyle's, but, we'll keep an eye on it. At this point, it's just going to be cold and windy. Browns coming off an ugly 39-17 loss at Miami. They were outgained 491-297. Brissett, 22-35, 212 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Ran 7 times for 40 yards. Donovan Peoples-Jones caught 5 passes for 99 yards, but Amari Cooper did not look good. Held to 3 catches for 32 yards after picking up 131 yards receiving last out. Nick Chubb ran 11 times for 63 yards and a touchdown. He did lose a fumble. That's a season low for the Browns, 113 yards rushing. Myles Garrett was neutralized. The defense did not look good or apply enough pressure. They finished with 1 sack and 2 quarterback hits and then lost their safety, D'Anthony Bell, who's in concussion protocol. Bills coming off their second straight loss, 33-30, a setback at home to the Vikings. They somehow found a way to lose the game. It was a wildly exciting football game. They now trail Miami by a half game in the AFC East. Allen, 29-43, 330 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Also ran 6 times for 84 yards, but mishandled a very costly snap at his goal line. Might not have been his fault, but it looked like the Bills had the game won at that point. He has turnovers in 8 of his last 9 games. He has 10 interceptions this year. That's 2 more than he had all of last season. He's lost 3 fumbles. That's the same amount that he lost last year. Those 10 picks, that leads the NFL. Stephon Diggs, 12 receptions for 128 yards. Gabe Davis had 6 receptions for 93 yards and a touchdown. Singletary ran 13 times for 47 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he also had a costly fumble. I'm not sure why they didn't get more of a bigger bruising back to help out Singletary. I don't know if Hines is the right guy to kind of change the energy. He did have 1 catch for 9 yards in the game. The defense could not get stops when they needed them most. They were able to apply pressure on Cousins, 4 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, but the secondary couldn't keep the ball out of Jefferson's hands. 10 catches for 189 yards. They could use Tre'Davious White. He's still working his way back from a torn ACL last season in Thanksgiving. And McDermott said yesterday that the Pro Bowl cornerback is just not in a position where he's ready. He returned to practice after week 4. They opened the 3-week window where they had to add him to the 53-man roster, designate him on the season-ending IR list. They put him on the roster. So he's on the 53-man roster, but man, you have no White. You have no safety, Jordan Poyer. He missed 2nd game in a row with the elbow injury. That elbow injury caused him to miss all the team's preseason games. He played with a hinged elbow brace during his first 6 weeks of the season. He wasn't in the elbow brace in week 7, and he got hurt. So he's been a non-participant in practices. He's been ruled out of the last 2 games and not expected to be back again here. Tremaine Edmonds, their linebacker, didn't return after a groin injury in the first half, and the Bills can't stop the run. They're not stopping the run at all. Their last 3 opponents, 5.9 yards per rush against them. The Browns are 6th in the NFL in yards per carry at 4.9 yards. This is going to be an angry Chubb who could run the ball down the Bills' throat. Take it away for us, Andy. Browns, Bills. Oh, you're on mute, my guy.
Yeah, I was doing some coughing, sparing you my throat oysters there, Jimmy. But I don't want to talk a lot about this game because we could sound really stupid come the weekend, because I've seen wildly different weather forecasts where it's like, oh, it should be pretty nice, or there could be a foot of snow in Buffalo, and we can affect not only this game but the Maction game earlier in the weekend. So I mean, let's just talk about that real quick. If it is nasty, if we do get the snowstorm, they'll clear the field off. But if it's snowing during the game, we can see something like we saw, I don't know, about 5 years ago, where it was a Colts game up there where you couldn't clear it fast enough. They had to play in the snow, and you give the advantage to the team who has a good running back or two good running backs. So if that was the case, I'd expect to see more Browns money coming in. If this weather turns more, I don't know how much more you'd want to tickle this under. Like you need wind really to affect that, but it's hard to run routes, crisp routes, and good separation in the snow. But at the same time, if it ends up slippery, sometimes that's a bad thing for defenders. Is they're in a reactionary spot, and they have to react to what these wide receivers, tight ends, running backs are doing. And slippery conditions can often hurt the cornerbacks, defenders, off-ball linebackers. So I'm really sketched out about this game due to the weather. I lean Cleveland. I don't think Buffalo's a bad team. This is kind of a matchup where they might get run on again. Dalvin Cook looked great, and I don't have much to say that hasn't already been said about last week's game. That was crazy, just craziness. The fact. Craziness how that ended. Honestly, I think Cousins was in on the sneak. I've never seen a catch like that contested. By that catch by Jefferson was the wildest thing. And adding the context that it was also 4th and 18. That wasn't just some like first quarter catch that didn't mean anything. And then Gabe Davis didn't catch that ball. Like it probably shouldn't even have gone to overtime. There was so many things that happened in like such a short span. So
12 men on the field.
12 men on the field for the one play. Yeah. So I'm staying away from this one with the forecasts, and maybe we get a bunch of forecasts for snow. This total keeps getting hit, and then how weather is, it just suddenly shifts and it hits Toronto instead, and we don't get any snow, and you're looking at a 40, and you can hit that over on Sunday. So staying away for now.
Yeah, so it's nonstop snow Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
So the idea, at least that I've got from the weather, is that it's supposed to stop snowing around 4 in the morning Sunday. And
I just don't trust weather reports that far out, because I've helped. There's no license. You don't need a license for this. I was about to say a licensed snowplow truck driver, but like I've plowed a little snow, and whenever you're looking at, it's going to storm, it always moves around. Like, guess what? I thought the snow was going to start this time. It's going to start that time. Like, it's so hard looking at it this far out. So you could end up with a game where it's dumping snow the entire game if this storm shifts at all. So not something I'm getting involved at this early.
How bad is the Browns secondary as we move into the second half of the season? Is the Browns secondary so bad that you can't even be comfortable getting them at 8.5 here against the Bills?
Yeah. I think you kind of said it there. It's sketchy. Like it's a bad defense. Like that's the only thing that would worry me about taking the Browns here. It's been a bad defense. You can really run on them too. And like you said, I didn't understand the Hines move as much. Like maybe that's not the right running back to add. It's not a team that likes to run the ball though. They like to just throw the ball. They have a high percentage of throws. Like maybe they just are settled on, hey, if we're gonna add a running back, he's gonna be a running back who can catch the ball, because we're not the kind of team that's gonna run it 35 times a game. So I worry about this Browns defense. And a couple of people are saying, like, if these weather reports keep going one way and we end up with some movement to this under, and you might have some value on Sunday on this over if the storm passes by.
God, I think there's value on it now. It's 43 at most books, still 43.5 at Pinnacle. If this is one of those, games where it's cold and windy and it's about who can run the ball down the other team's throat, well, the Browns will do that. There's no fear. The Bills have no tough running backs that can hit you, right? Can keep hammering the line of scrimmage and hammering you. They have no one to do that. God, I feel like the Browns and the over, I could bet tonight and still feel good about myself. At 43, I'm thinking of doing it. At least putting a half unit on the over where I can then decide if I want to make changes. That's a fascinating game. Browns, Bills, Highmark Stadium.